वासुदेव। हरि ओम। शं नो मित्रस्यं वरुणः शं नो भवत्वर्यमा शं न इंद्रो बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। प्राच्य पाश्चात्य देशानां समन्वय विधायकं शांतं सौम्य गुणोपेतं कृष्णं वंदे जगद्गुरुम्। ओम अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। Welcome to all our brothers. So we are continuing the study of the aphorism number 18. No, number 19. 18 we have completed. Just last week we started with the aphorism 19. Just we made an entry into the study of the aphorism. So in this aphorism 19, Bhava Pratyaya Videha Prakriti Layanam. So here there are three main technical terms. One is Bhava Pratyaya. Bhava Pratyaya means the basis to take birth. Bhava means, that is called Bhava in Sanskrit. So Pratyaya means the cognizance or the knowledge. So Bhava Pratyaya is the cognizance about taking the birth. So this cognizance is the basis to take birth, to take a new birth. That is Bhava Pratyaya. Then Videha. Videha, Deha means body. So Videha means those who do not have bodies. Videha. Those who do not have body. And Prakriti Laya. Prakriti Laya, Prakriti means nature. Laya means merging. Merging. So Prakriti Laya means those who merge in nature. So the meaning of the aphorism totally is, to those who have no bodies and those who get merged in nature, this forms its own basis for rebirth. So, there are two types of people classified among those who are practicing Abhyasa and Vairagya. Because we have been studying about the two types of implements which are explained by Patanjali. What are those implements? One is Abhyasa, that is habit, and another is Vairagya, non-attachment. So we have so far studied about the two types of Vairagya. So the one which is Samprajñāta Vairagya, that means all conscious state of Vairagya, and the other is Asamprajñāta, that means where there is no cognizance of anything. So, one is conscious state, the other is supra-conscious state. So, this must be clear in our mind. So, there are among those who are practicing Abhyasa and Vairagya, now in this aphorism, Patanjali is explaining about two categories of persons who are practicing Abhyasa and Vairagya. So, what are these two categories? One is those who have no bodies, who do not have any bodies. That is Videha. And the other class of aspirants or practitioners is Prakrutilaya. So those who have merged into nature. So, what Patanjali says in this aphorism is that in both of these categories of people, even after practicing this Abhyasa and Vairagya for many births, for many years or for many births, then also they take birth once again. Here we have to understand very clearly. Taking birth after birth, is of two types. Those who have not practiced Abhyasa and Vairagya and got stabilized in yogic state by attaining the knowledge, for those people there is birth for their physical body, but they are not born. How is it? how can we understand that their bodies are born and they are not born? We cannot understand this because we are identified with our bodies. So that is the reason. We get identified with our bodies. That is why we cannot understand this, that those, they get their birth, but at the same time they are not born. This is like a riddle. It appears to be a riddle like that. But there is, the truth is that we can attain a new body, at the same time we can have no birth. What does it mean? Does it mean that we are born dead? You know, some children are born who have died before they are born in the womb of the mother. Does it mean this? No, absolutely not. It is absurd if you take that meaning. If you take that meaning, it is absurd. So, therefore, we have to understand that what is explained, you know, when you read Bhagavad Gita also, when you read Bhagavad Gita or when you read Upanishads, when you study Yoga of Patanjali, several times it is mentioned that when we get stabilized into our yogic state, then we are born several times physically, but there is no birth and no death. This we have to contemplate a bit deeper. You know, when you study Purusha Sukta, which is called the archaic stanza, what is given in Purusha Sukta? It is about the Lord Supreme. It is a sukta in Rigveda which gives about the Lord Supreme. He is the indweller of all. So what is explained there is Ajayamano Bahudha Vijayate. That means he has no births, but again and again he comes into form. This in the beginning we cannot understand because we always have been identifying ourselves with our body. Therefore, for those who have not yet entered into yogic study or yogic practice, this will be like a riddle. Ajayamanaha, he who has no births is born again and again. These two appear to be opposite to each other. What is the statement? Ajayamanaha bahudha vijayate. He who has no births takes form again and again. Here we have to go deeper to understand this. It is actually, there is no riddle, but it appears to be riddle. First of all, we have to get clarity in our mind that we are not our body. Body is a part of our existence. Physical body is a vehicle. It is a part of our real existence. You see? So therefore, unless you make your mind clearly that we are not our body, we cannot understand this. Therefore, when you are stabilized in the yogic state, what is the yogic state we have already known from our studies. Chittavritti Nirodha, suspended state of the behavior of our mind, that is the yogic state. So it is all awareness. That is yogic state. So for such a person, there is no birth and death, but he leaves the body and he again gets a body. So that means body, physical body, merely taking a body and leaving the body is not considered as birth and death in its true sense. So one can be born again into form, but at the same time, he is in liberated state, in the yogic state. So therefore for him, there is no birth, even though he takes body again and again. So this must be we have to bear this in mind very strongly and remember this always. Otherwise you cannot really understand these aphorisms. So actually what for we are trying to practice yoga in its true sense is to get out of the bondage. So the bondage, if we get out of the bondage, that is what is called liberation. We want to get liberated from the bondage of the self-conditioning, which is also called the bondage of karma. So therefore, when we are completely liberated from this bondage by being stabilized in the yogic state, then we are not born again and again, but we take the body and we leave the body. Physical bodies come and go, but there is no death for us. You see, we have to try to contemplate upon this. Physical bodies may come and go, because that is inevitable for anybody. Nobody can deny this. It is not a religious belief at all. If somebody thinks that reincarnation is a religious belief, that means that person is to be considered as a dogmatic person. It is not a religious belief, it is a scientific process. Yeah? You see, you observe the rain water poured down by the clouds. So that water is in a very pure state, touching the earth, forming into a stream or a river, flowing down, and finally merging into the ocean. The moment after merging into the ocean, it has no existence by itself, as itself. So you can call this a death of the river. That means the river, when entered into the ocean, it is transformed into ocean. No more it is the river separately. So that is the change of one state into another state, which is called death. This must be very clear in our mind. So once again, the water is evaporated by the heat of the sun, and its vapor by the process of sublimation is absorbed or taken up by the heat of the sun, and there again it takes very pure form, and there it forms into the clouds, and then it starts raining. So once again we have the water, drops of water coming down through the rain. So this distillation, evaporation, distillation, condensation, all this process is a continuous process. So it is a cyclic process. In the same manner, our taking a form, a body, and living with the body, using the body as an instrument, and at certain time leaving the body. After leaving the body, again it is inevitable that we have to take another body. So this is the law of nature. There is no more any religion or something else. This is according to the law of nature. So it is a process, eternal process. It has nothing to do with any religious beliefs. It is just like, for example, in the night or in the day also, we may fall asleep. So when we have fallen asleep, after some time we got waken up. So after waking up, is it the same person or is he another person? Is it not the same person who has slept and who has waken up? So it is only change of state. From awakened state, he got into sleep state, and after some time from sleep state again came into awakened state. So change of state. So what we call normally death also is a change of state. So leaving the body and again getting the body once again, this is a continuous process. That is what the Lord very clearly explained in the very second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He said that for everyone who got into a form, a body, it is inevitable that he leaves this body after a certain time. And he who has left the body, physical body, after some time once again it is inevitable that he should get into another body. So we cannot refuse it or we cannot ask for it. We can neither ask, please give me a body. We can neither ask that, please take away my body. Nobody can stop this process, that it is a cyclic process, that we take a new form, a new body. After some time we leave the body and again we take a new body. When, as long as we are identified with our body, then we can say that we are gone, we are dead, and we are born again. But when once you get into the practice of yoga by practicing these steps of abhyasa and vairagya, then once you get stabilized in the yogic state, then only leaving the body and receiving another body, but as such there is no death at all. He is not born again, even though he comes back into the form again and again. So this must be very clear in our mind, then only we can really appreciate and understand what is given by Patanjali in this aphorism. So there are two categories of people who are practicing abhyasa and vairagya. There are two categories of people. So these two categories are, one are called videha. It means those who have no physical body. They are videha. And prakrutilaya, those who merge into nature. So these two, but both of them, they have no alternative. They cannot avoid to take birth once again. That means to take another body again and another body. So therefore, if these people, that means these videhas who have no body and another category, prakrutilayas, who have merged into nature, both of them. So you can apply practice, you can keep practicing yoga, you can apply abhyasa and vairagya through any of these two categories. Either you can be videha or you can be prakrutilaya. But keep practicing the two steps, abhyasa and vairagya. Then, for both these people, invariably they get into another birth like this, continuing, rebirth. So for this, what is the factor that gravitates these people to get into another body once again is that bhava pratyaya. That is the factor, that is the basis, bhava pratyaya. That means they have a belief, not only belief, but a knowledge, a cognizance about their rebirth. So, they are not only coming into the form, but they are also born again and again along with the body. So whenever we come across the word liberation, because many times we use the word liberation or moksha, but its real significance, what is the real significance there, we must be very clear. Some people wrongly understand that moksha means leaving the body. Moksha means liberation. Some people think that liberation means leaving the physical body. But if leaving the physical body itself is a mark of liberation, then everybody one day or other should leave the body. You should vacate. Nobody can claim that the body belongs to him, therefore he doesn't want to leave. No. If you want to leave, if you desire to leave, or if you do not desire to leave, if you desire to live in the body for the long time, even after a long time, or if you desire to leave the body because you don't feel comfortable, but at the angle. So liberation can be attained even while we are still in the body. So the liberation has nothing to do whether we have a body or we have no body. This we have to understand. One can attain liberation even while he is in the body. Because liberation is liberation from self-conditioning. So when you get at liberation, then bodies will come and go, but you are not born. So for him, there is the death of the body, but not for him. This is the difference. That is the meaning of that sentence in the Purusha Sukta, in the archaic stanza. He has no birth, but being born again and again. So this is the mystic sentence. But if we know this, there is no mystery in this. This is the truth. This is the truth of this. So what for we are trying to practice yoga? What for we are trying to practice? Through abhyasa and vairagya, what we want to practice? We want to practice to get stabilized in the yogic state, so that we will be in that state. We are not born even though we get the body and we leave the body. So this is what we have to clearly understand. So therefore, these two categories of people who are practicing Abhyasa and Vairagya, so one category is called Videhas, those who have no physical bodies. And the other category are Prakriti Layas, those who have merged into nature. But both of these people, even though they practice Abhyasa, they repeat for many years or for many births, but still they have belief. They believe that they are born and they are dead. They are born and they are dead. That means every time when he is born into ignorance. That is the truth. When he got a new birth, once again also, he is born into ignorance only. So liberation doesn't mean that you don't have to take body again and again. That is not true. So one cannot claim to the Lord of the universe or to the nature that he doesn't want to have any more births. Because for him birth means birth of the body. So if I say that, oh Lord, I don't want more births, please liberate me in this birth itself. So it cannot happen. Your prayer cannot be accepted. Because we got this body by not due to our whims and fancies. It is not, we got this body not according to our wish, whether we want to have the body or whether we don't want to have the body, but we definitely should have the body. Because that is given to us. Because that is not our property. That is the reason. Our body is there. For everybody, every one of us, we have our physical body. Can you say that it is our property? Is it true that it is your own property? How can? Have you purchased this by paying so many euros or so many dollars? Have you purchased this from somebody? You cannot. So this is what we have to remember, that this belongs to the nature. This is not our property. Before coming to the study of the science of yoga, we always believe that we are the owners of this body. But we will realize that we are not the owners of this body. This is given to us to stay in this for some time and continue our practice. For that purpose it is given to us. So therefore, you cannot claim anything. Since you are not owner of this, you are not the owner of this, you cannot claim anything about this body. So you cannot refuse to have a body, or you need not have a wish or desire to get a body. it is irrespective. Whether you want to have, whether you don't want to have, it doesn't matter. But body is given. You have to accept this. So, if anybody asks the Lord, "Oh Lord, I am vexed very much to live, so please take me away," it is not under our control. We have to realize this. For a person who got liberation, real in the real sense, or who got stabilized in the yogic state, that such person will never say to God that, "Oh God, I don't want any more birth." Really, a real person who is really in the yogic state will never make such statement or such demand to God in the name of prayers. Somebody who is fancy about this says, pray in the prayer, "Oh Lord, please take away this body and don't bring me back into a body." That is not possible. That is not real prayer. Because it is not in our control, never. We have no right to say anything about our body. You know, that is why the science of health, like Ayurveda, explains that it is not your own property, therefore you are not expected to misuse this. We often misuse our body because we feel that it is our own property. Why do we feel that this is our own property? Why do you want to possess this? Because this is the nature which makes you feel that this is your property. Unless you feel like that before you come to practice yoga, before that, unless you feel that this is your own property, you do not take proper care of this. That is the reason. If you know that this belongs to others, some force, it does not belong to ourselves, then you will never care for this. So nature will never allow you to feel. If you feel that is your property, but sometime or other you will realize that it is not our property. It is given to us. You have not attained by your own effort. It is given to us. That we have to know. So, because some people who get into complications because of their complicated nature and behavior, they get into complications or from all sides, they get strangled because of this behavior, and then they say, "No more I want to live, please take me away." These are the persons who have not entered into yogic living. So, nobody can claim in any manner about our body, his body. So there are two types of sadhakas or practitioners. One is videhas and one is prakritilayas. For both of them, it is inevitable that they will have a birth once again. because their sadhana or their practice is not yet complete. So their practice of yoga is not yet completed. Still they are practitioners only. You know, when we started to study yoga as explained in Patanjali, then we feel that we may feel in the beginning, that after a certain time, when we have completely got into a real yogic state, after a certain time, then we feel that our practice is completed. But it is not complete. In these two types of categories of persons, the practice of yoga is not complete even after many births. You know, we always will have a certain question that suppose while practicing yoga, while practicing abhyasa and vairagya, suppose if we leave the body, what will happen? Of course, this is a real question for many of those who are practicing. Suppose a person steps into yoga practice after 50 years of age, for example, or 60 years of age. There are many people who think that we start spiritual practice after retirement from our work. This is really ignorance, you see. You have to start practicing this immediately when you get the idea that you want to enter into yogic state. So it should be started at a very early age, not after retirement, of course. Okay, but suppose a person came to know about yoga only after retirement. Before that he is not informed anything about yoga, and later it happened that somehow he came across about yoga, and he is very interested now, but his age is above 60 years. He is retired from the service. So then he started now. So suppose he came to know then only, he has to start immediately. You need not feel that what happens if I start practicing yoga now, and I have only few years of my span. Suppose I die in the middle of practice, does it go waste? I have practiced for 5-6 years and then I died, for example. Is it a waste, all that I have practiced during the 5-6 years? In the next birth, if I want to practice again, is it again I have to start from the beginning? Like the so-called education, in this birth, suppose I got very good high degrees in the university. I got a degree of honor, PhD or very high degrees. And then I have all these degrees. All these papers showing that I got these degrees. Suppose I have died and again I am born somewhere else. And can I claim that I have all these degrees? No, not possible, unfortunately. I may be a professor with all these degrees and I have left the body and I got a new body. Does it mean that I am a professor from my birth? Not at all, unfortunately. Nothing is allowed to take from this birth to that birth. Only our associations are there, that's all. Nothing else. This is just like when we take a flight, they say no luggage is allowed. Only your hand luggage. No luggage is allowed in the flight. So here also, the luggage of our associations only is allowed. All our properties, all what I have studied, all the degrees, everything we have to leave, that's all. You cannot take them with you for the next birth. Then what I have to do? Start from the beginning. Yes. But what about yoga? This is different. When I have started practicing yoga, even at a later stage and later age, died in the middle of practice, when I take a next birth, then you are born in such a family, you are born in such a conditions that you can start this, you can continue from this point, you can continue in the next birth. This is only the exception. This is the advantage of getting into yoga practice. Very clearly it is explained in Bhagavad Gita, because Arjuna has put this question to the Lord. He said, I want to know to start practicing, I want to know for sure. Is it sure that if I leave the body in the middle of my practice, is it possible that it continues in the next birth, or all this is lost? The Lord said, everything is lost except the practice of yoga. Everything is absolutely lost. You cannot carry anything. But if you made any practice in the yogic path, that is never lost. You will continue this in the next birth. So therefore, this continues through many births. So it is a continuous process. So therefore, a yogi who completely got stabilized in the yogic state, even though he leaves the body, he takes a new body, this continues. He has no birth and no death. His body has birth and death, but he has no birth and death. This we have to understand very clearly to understand this aphorism. So Videhas are those who have no bodies, who are without bodies. They are Videhas. And Prakriti Laya, what is this? What is meant by Prakriti Laya? What is merging into nature? What is this? We have our body, our senses, our mind, and our nature, individual nature, our behavior, our individual nature. So, Prakriti Layas means those persons who are completely merged into their individual nature. So individual nature is different from the nature of the Lord. This we have to remember. Nature, individual nature and absolute. This is like absolute I am, the Lord consciousness and the being, individual being. This is like this, individual nature. So therefore, Prakriti Layas means those who have merged into this, who got identified, who has merged into this individual nature, they have to also again and again get into this, back into this. So therefore, there is always like a chain action, you know, how we are bound from one incarnation to other incarnation is, there is a chain of actions, chain, you know, chain, there are links. How we have the ornament, chains, or all these things, they are linked to each other by many links. Chain by itself is not an entity, it is only a continuity of links. So in the same manner, we are linked from one birth to another birth, another birth to another birth. And this link is technically called karma. This is a technical term. What we call karma is the chain link of these chain actions. So, if we have entered into yogic practice and start practicing abhyasa and vairagya, non-attachment, then it changes. What is the change? Then these links from one birth to another birth is neutralized. Then what is the significance of our next birth? Before we started to practice yoga, our every birth is conditioned by our karma. It is by the link, by the chain of this karma. But once we have stabilized in the yogic state, when we become a yogi in its true sense, then our attaining a new body is not due to obligation. But even after we got into, stabilized into yogic path, we became a yogi also, then also we take a new body, but without any conditioning. There is no bondage. Then why should we take a new body again? To work out and to train the other beings who are after us. We made a step forward and they are after us, so we have to train them. We have this responsibility. So liberation is a responsibility. It is not what many people think, we got liberated, so we have no more responsibilities. No, that is not that. That is not true. So liberation, what we call liberation or moksha, whatever it is higher responsibility. So then we start cooperating and working with the forces of nature. No more for ourselves. There is no bondage, individual bondage. There is no bondage at all. But we take a body because it is an instrument necessary for work. If we want to work, instrument is necessary for us. So body is the instrument given to us. So for continuing this work of nature, we are given a new body, then not due to any bondage. So then they have no individual existence. They are stabilized in the soul level, not at the level of body, senses and mind, intelligence and all these things. It is only in that state that is soul consciousness. So our consciousness is not no more conditioned by all these things. So that is what we attain by practicing yoga. So therefore, Videhas means those who have left the body and even after leaving the body with the mind, he is attached to the same thing. They are Videhas, Videhas means they are not the devas or nature, forces of nature. You should not take that meaning. The forces of nature are the higher forces. They don't have bodies. If they need bodies, they can manifest, but they don't have bodies. But this, what is mentioned as Videha here is not those people. Here Videha means who have left the body, but still with his mind and all these things, he is still on the attached to the same things yet still. They are Videhas. So, you know, that is what his master has wonderfully explained, this aspect. These Videhas, who have left the body, who has no body, after leaving the body, there are many people wrote many books, so much of what will we do after leaving the body, so we go here, we go there. Nowhere. After leaving the physical body also, we are still entangled, we are still attached to with what we are attached even while we are having the body. Master has given extremely practical examples in this aspect to explain this. One fellow is very much addicted to drink coffee, strong coffee. Every morning after he wakes up from sleep, he wants to have a cup of coffee immediately. For many years he is addicted. He cannot live without drinking coffee. What happens if he leaves body a few minutes before taking the coffee one day? He left the body because its time is over. Before having the cup of coffee, he left the body. He left the physical body only. But his astral body is there. He is there astrally, mentally, he is still there. He can see everybody. He can see his family members. But he cannot communicate with them because he has no body. So he feels like having a coffee, but he cannot drink a coffee because he has no body. How will be the experience? Very awful experience. He sees the cup of coffee. Everybody in the family, his wife and children, they keep remembering him and they keep drinking the coffee. This fellow will be very anxious. These fellows are drinking the coffee without giving me, but how can he do? He has no body. It has gone. Then he feels, how does he feel? It is a hell. It is the hell left. That is what is called hell. With anything else, with anybody or with anything, so much of attachment what you have makes its experience as hell after leaving the body. That is what is called hell. People think that hell is somewhere else and heaven is somewhere else. No. That is all imagination. This experience itself, if you are not attached, if you are a yogi, then the experience is heavenly experience. If you are attached very much to everything during your body, when you are in the body, after leaving the body, your experience is hell. Like this coffee, for example. Everybody in the family, his friends and all the things, they will be weeping, they will be feeling sorrow, oh, this fellow is gone, he is lost. But they keep drinking the coffee because they have to drink, they have the bodies. They have to eat and they have to drink because they have, as long as they are in the bodies. But this fellow has no body. He cannot drink, he cannot eat, but he sees those fellows are eating and drinking. That means these videhas are like this. They have left the body, physical body, but still they have attachment towards their all the things with their mind, with their senses. Astrally and mentally they are still there. They are videhas. So what will happen to them? Nothing will happen. They will come back to another body. That's all. They will be born again with the same. So what Lord has explained is very clearly, if anybody leaves the body and whatever thing he is attached to and whatever thing he thinks while leaving the body, the time of leaving the body, so when he takes a new body, what the first thing is, he gets attracted towards that only by association. In the same example, if you take the same example, this fellow is very much addicted to coffee and left his body. When he got another birth, even while a little child, he is very much attracted to the smell of coffee, which is not usual. The newly born child will be attracted to milk, mother's milk or other milk or honey, some things. But if you find a child who is attracted to coffee, that means he had so much of association with coffee in the previous birth. See? So, all these associations are carried like seeds. Again they start sprouting in the new incarnation. So these videhas cannot escape. Only they have without body. And also it is very clearly explained that suppose you have practiced that to certain extent, yoga and all these things, left the body. Then again it starts from that point after you get a new body. But during this time, between one birth and another birth, there is no progress because you have no body. After leaving the body, before attaining another body, you cannot expect any progress because there is no instrument in between. So therefore it starts from that point where you left. This is very clear. In Bhagavad Gita it is very much explained by the Lord himself. So if during your lifetime, if you practice yoga and if you make meditation, if you practice every day to meditate upon the Lord indweller, if such a person leaves the body, at the time of leaving the body also he can be meditating the indweller, the Lord consciousness. Then he drops off his body and he is born, he takes another body, but for him there is no loss, it is continuity. So immediately he continues from this. So he starts with the same. So when from the very birth he has this meditative mood he can meditate from the very starting, from the very early age upon the Lord consciousness, like Prahlada. So this is very clearly explained. So why should we practice yoga is because if you want to get liberated from the bondage, Then we have to practice this. Then it will allow us to make a progress, make a forward step. So here, Videhas. And then so these Videhas, when they start meditating or doing something else, what happens is they keep meditating upon what is imagination, what is imagined by themselves. All these people. So these are the people who live according to the impressions carried in their mind. Therefore, they have no body, but they are always, they can use mantras, they can do meditations while they are practicing during having the body, but all what they are meditating, all what they are doing is what is being imagined by their mind through the impression, all the impressions that are carried by the mind. That is how these Videhas, again and again, they have no body now, but again when they get the body, all these is carried out like that. All these impressions. Because these are the people who have so many types of beliefs. What are the types of beliefs? For example, somebody meditates, he says, I am meditating upon Lord Krishna. So, if he is not practicing Abhyasa and Vairagya, if he is not on the yogic path, if he says he is meditating on Lord Krishna, means he is meditating upon his impression which is formed in his mind about Lord Krishna, about the form of Krishna. But he feels sincerely that he is meditating upon Lord Krishna, or meditating upon Lord Jesus, or Lord Maitreya, or Lord Rama. So it is only the image of the Lord in all these names which is there in his mind. He meditates upon this image and he feels that, oh, he got into contact with this Lord. These are these Videhas. So, if really what they are meditating is absolutely the Lord consciousness, that is possible when they are stabilized in the yogic state. That means no more impressions are carried. With all these impressions carried, what all they meditate is only upon what their mind is. Their mind will manufacture, will frame all these, what they are meditating, what they are feeling that. So therefore, whatever practices they do during the lifetime, after leaving the body, when they become Videhas, and they will come back contemplating on on all those things which they have been doing. This is all because most of the people, they feel they are practicing meditation, they are practicing yoga, but under the influence of emotions. So, if you are still on the emotional level, if you are still under the influence of your emotions, could not come out of the emotion, all the practice what you are doing, meditation or all these things, will be like only an image made by your own mind. So you can verify that. Are you free from emotion or not? You can verify. Some people think that emotions, yes, emotions are required. No. Emotion is, it is like a mud in the water. Master has given this example. When the lake is still, when you observe a lake where the water is still, all the mud settles down and only pure water is there. Whether it is pure water or not, how can we know? If we don't see water, we see only the sky with all the stars and whatever is there in the sky as perfect reflection, then the water is pure, without mud. Suppose you throw some object into the still water and then it starts the water moving. What happens? The mud gradually again comes up to the surface and mixes with the water. Then what happens? All the reflections, suppose if there is full moon, if the water is not moving, that the moon as it is reflecting in the water. Suppose if you have disturbed the water with the mud also mixed with the water, then the moon appears as broken pieces. The reflection of the moon will be like broken pieces. So therefore emotion should be sublimated, free from emotion. That can be possible only when you apply abhyasa and vairagya, non-attachment. Then only you can go over the emotion. Emotion is not required. Emotion is different from affection. Most of the people get confused between affection and emotion. In their relationships, suppose husband and wife, parents and children, in their relationship, most of the people, 90% of the people, they are based on the emotion, not on the affection. They think it is all affection and love, but it is emotion. If it is affection and love, then it is a pure experience without any expectation and anticipations. But most of the relationships, what the persons have, many persons, is based on emotion. That is why they get angry, they get disappointed, all these things. If it is pure love and affection, there is no question of anger or disappointment and all these things, no disturbance. You can verify this, whether you are an emotion or above emotion. So these videhas, these people who left the body So they have all these things during their lifetime. Now also, after leaving the body also, they are left with all these associations. They take another body. So now they have no body. This is videha. So therefore, even with praying prayers, or even with praying the God, or making the rituals, or making, even these also, if it is all with emotion, devotion is not emotion. Emotion is completely different, and different. A hell of difference is there between emotion and devotion. You see, some people, when they speak of God, and then, oh yes, God, and then they get all the emotions. There is no need for all this. It is experience, a pure experience. So therefore, if our emotions are roused, if we are still in emotions, dwelling in emotions, then many times there is disturbance due to all these things. So our emotions are roused, and then we become angry or depressed, all these things. When you are in the yogic practice, when you are practicing vairagya, then it should not be, all these things should be sublimated. So you have to practice this, go on practicing this until you are free from all these things. That is why in the beginning, some people immediately question that, how long I have to practice this? Many times. If it is prescribed to them that you have to practice, you have to start practicing yoga, you have to start abhyasa and vairagya, how long? Then Master used to give an answer that until that question disappears from your mind. How long ahead? It is just like the patients who come for treatment to us. In the very beginning, starting itself, they ask, how much time I have to undergo this treatment? Even it has not started even. In the very beginning, they ask how much time I have to practice. It is similar to that. How long I have to practice vairagya? Until this disappears from your mind. That is the answer. So, that is about videhas. So, prakrutilayas, the second category of people, they are also suppose there are some people who say, meditate upon the fire. Yes, the fire. Meditate upon the fire. Meditate upon the light. Meditate upon the sunrise. Yes, very good. Every day I am meditating upon rising sun. How is it so wonderful? Very good, very wonderful. Meditate upon that. So, for many years they keep meditating upon this, and then they get stuck up only at that step only. Meditation is one step. They'll get stuck up only at that level, at that stage. So they say, yes. So they don't know what they have to, where they have to reach through this. It is one, It is a means for us. Meditation is not the end. Any step is a means to go on. Suppose you have to go over a building, you have to take one step, take another step and another step, then you will reach the top. If I stand on one step, say, I have already on this step, I don't move, I don't want to move from this, you will be there only, you cannot reach. So these Prakriti Layas, they try, to certain extent they reach and then they stop there. So they cannot get into the real, they cannot go until the yogic state of experience. They cannot get in, because they only stop with the impression. What they call God is the impression of God. Because they are still under the influence of the three gunas, especially the two gunas. One is rajas and one is tamas. That means activity and inertia. So, example is for these people, for Prakriti Layas, suppose he likes to meditate upon Lord Krishna. Okay, very good. So, he sits in meditation, then he got wonderful experience, he sees Krishna. Okay. So for this, he makes a place every day and he has a statue of Krishna. Now, he has another person who also meditates upon Krishna, for example. And this fellow has a statue made of gold, and that fellow has a Krishna statue made of clay. And he says, no, absolutely, this is the real Krishna, because this is made of gold. That means his mind is stuck up with the gold, no more Krishna. These are the people who are Prakriti Layas. Because their mind, they are stuck up with the mind. It's Prakriti Layas. So if the other person says, I am meditating on our Lord Krishna, wonderful experience, but the statue is made of clay. Another person also is there who is meditating upon the Lord Krishna, but he has only a picture, wonderful picture, hanging over the wall. This fellow says, no, a picture cannot lead you to that. It should be a golden statue, then only you can have. That means he is completely it is like an addiction. It is not really a step which is required, it is like an addiction. Just before concluding, an incident, when I was speaking, when I was giving a lecture in the institute, Healing Institute in Kyiv, few years ago, it is 6 o'clock in the evening, we were approaching. Then I told them, 6 o'clock is the time for our meditation. So you can also sit. We have a meditation and then I will continue the lecture. And the lecture was about the attachment. So after the prayer and all these things, at the end, one member who was there, he put a question to me. Exactly at 6 o'clock you want to meditate, is it not an attachment? Even for that also you are attached. I said, it is not attachment, it is a discipline. You have a difference between attachment and a discipline. It is a discipline to have to be there at time. It is a discipline, it is not attachment. Then he could understand. So like this is Videhas and Prakritilayas we have, because unless we know very clearly, we cannot proceed further. Therefore, with so much of example and all these things we are studying. So a little more we have to continue with this Prakritilayas and this. That we will continue in our next class. Thank you all. Vasudeva.